Russian court gives Brittney Griner 9 years on drugs charges. A Russian court has found U.S. basketball star Brittney Griner guilty of drug smuggling, and sentenced her to 9 years in prison in a case that has reached the highest levels of United States-Russia diplomacy. The court found the defendant guilty of smuggling and possessing a significant amount of narcotics, Judge Anna Sotnikova told a court in the town of Khimki just outside Moscow. The court also fined her 1 million rubles, $16,300. U.S. President Joe Biden was quick to condemn the verdict, calling it unacceptable and renewing his calls for the player's release. "My administration will continue to work tirelessly and pursue every possible avenue to bring Brittney and Paul Whelan home safely as soon as possible," he said, referring to another American imprisoned in Russia on an espionage conviction. Sotnikova had said on Thursday that Griner committed the crime deliberately. But Griner had testified during the trial it was a mistake. Since her arrest, Griner's relatives, teammates and supporters have been calling on the U.S. government to put its full weight behind the case to push for her release. Griner, a two-time Olympic gold medalist and a Women's National Basketball Association (WNBA) star, was arrested at Moscow's Sheremetyevo Airport on February 17 when she entered the country with vape canisters containing cannabis oil. She called it an honest mistake while speaking in the courtroom Thursday before sentencing. "I never meant to hurt anybody, I never meant to put in jeopardy the Russian population, I never intended to break Russian law," Griner said through a translator while standing in the metal cage reserved for defendants in Russian courtrooms. She apologized to her family, teammates, and her spouse. Her detention came 1 week before Russia's invasion of Ukraine amid a spike of tensions between Moscow and Washington. Griner had pleaded guilty when her trial began in July, and said then she did not bring the canisters into Russia intentionally. Cannabis is illegal in Russia for both medicinal and recreational purposes. Attention will now turn to the high-stakes possibility of a prisoner swap. In July, the U.S. Department of State designated Griner as wrongfully detained, moving her case under the supervision of its special presidential envoy for hostage affairs, effectively the government's chief hostage negotiator. Last week, U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken spoke to his Russian counterpart, Sergei Lavrov, urging him to accept the deal under which Griner and Whelan would go free. The Lavrov-Blinken call marked the highest-level known contact between Washington and Moscow since Russia launched its full-scale invasion of Ukraine more than 5 months ago. The direct outreach over Griner is at odds with U.S. efforts to isolate the Kremlin. "I know everybody keeps talking about political pawn and politics, but I hope that is far from this courtroom," Griner said on Thursday before the judge's ruling. Griner, 31, had flown to Russia to join her team, UMFC Yekaterinburg, for the playoffs after spending time at home in the U.S. She has played in the Russian Women's Basketball Premier League during the WNBA off-season. In her testimony last week, Griner expressed puzzlement as to how the vape cartridges had ended up in her luggage. "I still don't understand to this day how they ended up in my bag," she told the court on July 27. "If I had to guess on how they ended up in my bags, I was in a rush packing."
U.S. lawmakers, activists and athletes denounced the sentence against Griner on Thursday, stressing that it's about the geopolitical rivalry between Washington and Moscow, not the drug charges. U.S. Congressman Ruben Gallego, who represents parts of Phoenix, Arizona, where Griner played before leaving for Russia, called the sentence unsurprising as it is unjust. It's clear that Russia sees Ms. Griner as a political pawn in their war in Ukraine, Gallego wrote on Twitter. I'll keep working with the Biden administration's efforts to bring her home. Democratic Congressman Mike Quigley also called the sentence a miscarriage of justice that makes it clearer than ever that Brittney Griner is being wrongfully detained purely because of her nationality. For his part, Kenneth Roth, executive director of Human Rights Watch, raised concerns that the sentence may be political. 9 years for bringing 2 vaping cartridges into Russia. That seems like a sentence not tailored to the gravity of the offense but designed to increase her value as a bargaining chip for Russians held by the United States, he wrote on Twitter.
Brittney Yvette Griner, born October 18, 1990. Is an American professional basketball player for the Phoenix Mercury of the Women's National Basketball Association, WNBA, who is currently imprisoned in Russia. She played college basketball for the Baylor Lady Bears in Waco, Texas. She is the only NCAA basketball player to both score 2,000 points and block 500 shots. In 2012, the 3-time All-American was named the AP Player of the Year and the Most Outstanding Player of the Final Four. Griner is one of 11 women to receive an Olympic gold medal, an NCAA championship, a FIBA World Cup gold medal and a WNBA championship. In 2009, Griner was named the nation's #1 high school women's basketball player by Rivals.com. She was selected to the 2009 Phoenix Mercury All-American basketball team. In 2012, she received the Best Female Athlete SPY award. In 2013, Griner signed an endorsement deal with Nike. Standing 6 feet 9 in, 206 centimeters tall, Griner wears a men's US size 17 shoe and has an arm span of 87.5 in, 222 centimeters. Griner was on the United States Women's Olympic team in 2016, and led them to victory at the Rio Olympics. In 2020, Griner protested the Star-Spangled Banner and stated she would not be on the court while the national anthem was played during game openers. In 2021, Griner was named to the United States women's national team for the 2020 Olympics, where she won her second gold medal. In February 2022, Griner was detained by Russian customs after cartridges containing hashish oil were found in her luggage, and later arrested on drug charges. She had been entering Russia to play with the Russian Premier League during the WNBA off-season. Her trial began on July 1, and she pled guilty to the charges. On August 4, she was sentenced to 9 years in prison.